Hey, y'all. Welcome to the CPA Exam series of the WERKin Mommas podcast. I'm Nikki. Thank you for tapping in and supporting this podcast and all of my CPA exam content. The WERKin Mommas podcast was originally all about my frolics and frustrations of being a mama to two growing kids. But like most moms out here, there's other hats that I wear. I'm a CPA, I work in corporate America, I run my own businesses. And so I wanted to have conversations about the CPA exam for candidates, talk about business and tax tips for entrepreneurs, share career advice from my perspective as a Black girl working in an industry where I'm part of the 1% and not in a good way. And of course, getting real about money and credit and unlearning some of the things that we as Black kids saw and adopted as the truth. So, my podcast is a labor of love for me. I enjoy sharing CPA exam tips and tricks and all that I went through with the exam in hopes that my experiences will inspire you to keep going, no matter how hard or how impossible this journey seems right now. I'm here to tell you it is so worth all of the stress and frustration that you may be feeling. There's lots more CPA exam coaching, practice exams, simulations, tutorials online at winstoncpagroup.com/CPA exam. There's a virtual classroom where you can access all of my content, my notes, my tutorials, these premium podcast episodes, and more in the virtual classroom. Check it out online. I also post CPA exam tips on LinkedIn, so make sure we're connected over there. And as you listen to this episode, if something resonates with you or is super helpful to you, let your networks know that you're tuned in to this exclusive CPA exam series of the WERKin Mommas podcast. Feel free to share on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook and tag me at Nick Winston CPA. So let's jump into this episode. My struggles with the CPA exam manifested into the only Black owned and woman owned CPA exam review course designed to prepare candidates for both the CPA exam and their accounting careers once they receive their license. Do you love this content? Well, help create more of it. Support this podcast and the CPA exam virtual classroom at buymeacoffee.com/Nick Winston CPA. When you go to the site, click on the support button, and from there, you can buy as many cups of coffee or tea as you like. And feel free to leave a comment and tell me what you like most about the WERKin Mommas podcast. Head over to buymeacoffee.com/Nick Winston CPA and help create more of the content you love. Hey, y'all. This is episode 10, and I'm super excited. This is Nikki Winston. Welcome to another episode of the WERKin Mommas podcast. And on this podcast, we talk all things business for small business owners and entrepreneurs and freelancers, and accounting for accounting students and CPA exam candidates. And we talk about mom life for the working mamas, for the moms who are working in corporate, working in their own businesses, or working inside their home, because that too is a full-time job with no days off and no overtime pay. And of course, we talk about career combos. I share the questions I get on LinkedIn and Instagram from professionals at varying levels in their careers who ask me about different things, about trying to start a business while you work full time, or I just graduated from college. How do I make a good impression at my new employer? So this is a podcast that is not your typical podcast. We are that square peg that does not fit into a round hole. So if I talk about just accounting, that will bore people to tears. If I talked about just careers, then that's not applicable to the people who maybe own their own businesses or maybe are full-time stay-at-home moms. So I took everything that I know and everything that I love, and I'm talking about it here on the WERKin Mommas podcast. So thank you for tuning in. This episode today is going to be a short but impactful one. I just really want to talk about failure, and specifically to the CPA candidates who are constantly dealing with failure, whether it's in your study time and preparation leading up to exam day, whether it's actually on exam day and then you get that score release and it's 2 pages, which means that you failed, because if you pass, it's 1 page. So I want to talk about failure just at a high level, but specifically to those candidates, because my DMs have been blowing up. My LinkedIn, I've been getting a lot of messages from candidates who are like, I failed. What do I do? Or how did you pass FAR? I'm about to take it for the 3rd time and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And the first thing I want to say is that I've gotten to the point at 38 years young where failure has just been an integral part of my life. And I just looked at it like, okay, at least that's progress. At least I went for it. At least I jumped out there, and maybe it didn't work, but I know how to switch it up for next time. I know what to do the second time around so that I can be successful. So I probably have learned more from failing than I have with successes, because I just remember my mama telling me, ain't nobody gonna give you shit. And that was always how she said it. So, that's true. Nobody's just gonna drop something in your lap. You have to go out and work for it. And the step that you take when you get up and work for it is usually where the failure occurs. So I just look at it like it's just a function of me moving in the right direction and me trying all of what I think are fabulous ideas that come into my mind, and I just see what works. And I think I've become not accustomed, I'll never be accustomed to failing, but maybe now that I have experienced failure in a lot of different ways, I kind of know how to move when it comes around or when I feel like it can be on the horizon, right? So I just say embrace those failures, because, and I'll even talk about the CPA exam, because I thought that, and I told myself that when I started taking the exams back in September of 2014, that I was going to pass all 4 sections in 6 months with 2 kids, a demanding career, a household, a husband, myself, my friends, my family, and a damn partridge in a pear tree. And so I put unnecessary stress on myself, because NASBA actually gives us 18 months. And when I talk to students, I just spoke at the NABA Southern Region Student Conference last week, and I did a CPA exam session with some candidates. Some of them had already taken sections. Some of them were just kind of trying to answer the question of, are they ready for it? Are they ready for the challenge? And so I even told them, like, give yourself 12 months, because I know what it's like to put unrealistic expectations on yourself. And it ended up taking me way more than 6 months, way more than 12 months to pass. Almost 4 years, 1,373 days. Y'all have probably heard me reference that number before. And I learned so much about myself over that time. And let me get some water. I'm still about maybe 10 or 20% stuffy, congested. I'm trying to fight this cold, which I feel good today. I felt terrible maybe 2 or 3 days ago. So again, progress is progress. But I mean, I know what it's like to put these unrealistic expectations on yourself, but as long as you have an end goal in mind, don't just do something indefinitely, not being clear and firm on what the outcome should be. So I like to tell students, give yourself the time, allow yourself to learn. That's the thing that we keep skipping. Allow yourself to learn, to become immersed in the content, because the challenge doesn't start, or the challenge doesn't end when you finish the exam. It's just beginning. Because all of this stuff that you've been studying, trying to figure out, trying to memorize, trying to calculate, now you have to go out into the world and show your clients, your boss, your employer, what you can do. And you can't think about a formula that you memorized or a mnemonic that you tried to remember for the exam when you're sitting at your client's office getting paid to solve their problems. Your real client with real problems who's paying you real money to solve those problems. You have to know, or at least if you don't know, have the diligence to find out and know where to go for help in trying to source information. So embrace the failures. I mean, in terms of the CPA exam, the failures are very subjective, right? I mean, the exam is a challenge, and that's no debate. I mean, the highest score you can get is a 99. So the exam is a challenge, but unlike being at work, if you're at work and you're working on a project and the project just goes south and fails terribly, you're going to get some direct feedback, whether it's solicited or not, about the specific things that went wrong. Maybe your communication wasn't the best. Maybe the vendors had poor service. I mean, there's so many different things that I feel this nasaliness coming back. But there's so many different factors that go into something going wrong. And in a corporate setting, you'll know specifically what those things are. You're never going to know those specific questions that you got wrong. When you get your score release, you'll see if you're stronger, comparable, or weaker than other candidates who sat in the same window as you. But it might say that you were stronger in corporate governance and weaker in operations management. So what exactly does that mean? What specific component of operations management do I need to go back and study? And that's kind of up to you as the candidate to figure out. And I think that's where a lot of candidates kind of lose their steam and their momentum, because they're not sure how to come back and how to bounce back after that failure. Because a lot of them quit. I mean, we've seen the stats. White candidates tend to quit at maybe 10, 11%. Hispanics are probably double that. And then black candidates are triple that, like 30, 34%. We've all hopefully seen those stats before. And a lot of that is because they just feel like, well, why can't I pass? Am I not smart enough? Am I not getting this? Am I not meant for this? Am I just not grasping this? And the CPA exam will take you on this roller coaster of emotions where you're excited one day because you finally mastered the COSO cube. I mean, or you finally understand absorption versus direct costing, or you understand the different ways to prepare the statement of cash flows, and you celebrate that. But then you go to another topic and you just don't get it. And so you start to doubt your ability. You start to question if this is even worth it. And then you take the exam, you get a 73, and then you quit. because we all want the glory right now. You have to work for this. The glory is a beautiful thing. But again, it's not just dropped into your lap. You have to be willing to put in the work. And so that's why when I created my course, my CPA exam review course, I wanted to create it so that the candidates could have access to me. So the candidates can be able to ask me questions and say, I just did this practice exam. I have no idea how to complete this simulation. Help. Because that's what they're missing. And I love to do that. And I feel like I have to do that because I spent a lot of time trying to figure all this out. And I don't want another candidate to spend 3.5 years like I did trying to get there. But back to failure, I appreciate those 3.5 years because I don't think I would be doing this if I would have passed the exam in like 6 months, like I planned, or probably not even in a year. I don't think I would have been as vested. I wouldn't have understood the real struggle of what it's like trying to work full time and study. So many CPA candidates are moms and they have kids and they're trying to figure out, how am I supposed to have kids that are school age and take care of them and still find time to study, because motherhood itself is another full-time job. There's no vacation. There's no overtime. There's no bonus. Well, there's no monetary bonus. There's a lot of just motherhood bonuses, but another conversation for another day. But I mean, I really don't feel like I would be trying to help candidates pass if I didn't understand the struggle. And I purchased some or all of every major CPA review course out there. So I have a feel for how they operate. And I mean, I get it. You know, you put out your textbooks and your videos, but when did you take the exam? Did you take the exam 6 years ago or 60 years ago or 20 years ago? Because the computerized exam is new. And I think it came out 2004, the year I graduated from Fisher. So yeah, it's about 15 years old. It's not that old. So I just found it difficult to learn how to prepare for this exam from somebody who is talking to me on a video that took the exam maybe 30 years ago. Like I can't. The pen and paper and the computerized are two different experiences. So that's why with my course, I make myself available to walk my students through those difficult topics, but also sometimes we have to put the content aside and just talk about the mindset and the mental fortitude that this journey requires, because I've tutored so many students and every single one of them have had a component of nervousness or uneasiness or anxiety about this exam. They have either rescheduled tests or canceled them altogether just because of their the mental mindset about the exam. And I mean, I'm going to put it off and try it another time. I don't think this is working out. I mean, just so many different things. And I'm like, I sat and watched you and worked with you as you have studied for weeks and months. Like, you were fine and you were motivated when you were studying. But then when we get a week or 2 weeks from exam day, all that anxiety kicks in. And I get it. I have felt it several times, 13 times to be exact. So I know what it feels like, but now that I'm on the other side, it's like, look, don't let the uneasiness consume you, because
it's really not that difficult, especially if you've studied for weeks and months at a time. It's not that difficult. And I say that because we overcomplicate the exam with our emotional fears. So I hear candidates who say, oh my God, FAR is so hard. And they haven't even sat for the exam before. And I'm like, how do you know? How do you know that FAR is hard? Because you letting other people get in your head and influence your thinking. And you feel like, well, if they said it's hard for them, it's going to be hard for me too. Actually, FAR was the easiest section for me. And that was because that was my job. The FAR content was my full-time job for about 5 years. So it was easy for me. So don't allow yourself to be swayed one way or the other when it comes to the exam, because people still say BEC is easy. And my thing is, don't sleep on business and economic concepts. It's actually my favorite section for some weird ass reason, but BEC content does not build like FAR content does, where you have the transactions and then those transactions become journal entries, and then those journal entries become financial statements. So don't underestimate the beast that BEC is, because you have to know internal controls and corporate governance and the COSO cube and references to Enron and supply and demand and market structures and oligopolies and monopolies and recessions and expansions and peaks and troughs and operations management, cost accounting, materials variances, purchase price variances, labor efficiency and the usage variances and process costing and absorption costing versus direct costing. I mean, and none of that shit is related. You can't go from corporate governance and build on what you know and apply that to cost accounting. It's 5 totally unrelated sections. So you have your corporate governance, you have market structures and the economy, and then operations management, information technology, and I'm forgetting one of the sections. I know that I am, but it's unrelated. So don't allow what somebody thinks or feels about the exam to influence your thinking, because I know a ton of people who feel like FAR was hard, the hardest. So embrace the failures, use that as motivation to go harder the next time. At least you'll know what you did wrong, how you need to pivot, or what you need to work on, and you can fix that and be successful the next time around. So hit me up, let me know what you're thinking. My email is nikki@nickwinston.cpa.com. I actually changed my email from the hello because I just felt like it was a little impersonal or impersonal, whatever. But hit me up. Let me know what you think. I'm on Instagram and Twitter @NickWinstonCPA. And of course, I'm answering career combos and CPA exam questions on LinkedIn. So hit me up. Would love to hear from you, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye.
Thank you again for tuning in and rocking with me on another episode of the WERKin Mommas podcast. This podcast is the business plan for entrepreneurs, the how-to and WTF guide for busy moms, and the coattail pulling career advice that professionals need to win in the corporate world. I'm Nikki Winston. I am a mama. I'm a CPA and a career development expert who put all the what ifs aside and launched my podcast. Do you love this content? If so, I would love for you to help create more of it. Support the WERKin Mommas podcast at buymeacoffee.com/Nick Winston CPA. When you go to the site, click on the support button, and from there you can buy as many cups of coffee or tea as you like. And feel free to leave a comment while you're there. Tell me what you like the most about the WERKin Mommas podcast. Head over to buymeacoffee.com/Nick Winston CPA and help create more of the content you love. If you're a CPA candidate, you can join the Winston CPA Exam virtual classroom online at winstoncpagroup.com/CPA Exam. Business owners, get answers to accounting and tax questions and how to form your LLC or corporation at winstoncpagroup.com/business. Are you a professional working in the corporate world? Well, there's career advice and tools that you need to elevate your leadership skills. Click on the career advice page of winstoncpagroup.com or go to winstoncpagroup.com/career advice. And of course, for the busy, overworked moms, there is a place where we understand your struggle. Join the WERKin Mommas community for cleaning hacks, quick meals that are nutritious and kid approved, and all things mom life at theworkinmommas.com. We also have a Pinterest board that's called Supercharged Self-Care that all the moms love. So check out our mom life tips over on Pinterest.com/theworkinmommas. And of course, if you are not already, you can follow me online on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter at Nick Winston CPA. Connect with the WERKin Mommas online at theworkinmommas.com, as well as on the Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn pages. Thank you again. It has been fun, and my podcast is a labor of love for me. So I appreciate every single solitary person who is tuning in, and I look forward to you coming back to rock with me on another episode of the WERKin Mommas podcast.